Okay. I'm Amy. I hope everyone can hear me. I don't know if I need to adjust this at all. I'm going to be talking about Angular.NET apps, and I don't have time to go into a lot of detail. I'm going to talk about just a few options. The first time I had to do this was about 2 years ago. My boss at the time said, "We're going to do this, go do it." And it was really scary. Back then, we did AngularJS because Angular 2, the newer stuff, it wasn't proven yet, so that was the first one. It was way different from Angular. Angular as it exists now is a lot easier to use. I guess, why would you want to do this? It is more work than just doing like an MVC app with the Razor views and everything kind of mashed together. This means that the front end is separate. If you want to switch to React, if you want to switch to really basic vanilla JavaScript and HTML later, you can do that because you're writing an API for the back end. It keeps spitting out the same data. It keeps accepting the same data. It doesn't matter what the front end is. Likewise, if you want to keep the front end and you want to change out the back end, you can change it. You can share the API that you write with multiple apps. You could eventually make it a service that you can sell if it's something like a weather app, lots of different options. Angular might not keep being supported. Maybe you have something years and years down the line that the API is still working, but you want to switch the front end, you can do that this way. When it's all tangled up, you're kind of stuck and you have to rewrite the whole thing. So there's a few different ways to do this. There's a project template that you can use, and that's what I'm going to talk about. There's also a way to do it with the CLI if you don't have, if you don't want to click through, if you're using Visual Studio Code or something, you can generate it through the CLI. I'm not going to go over that today, but there's a great tutorial that Microsoft put out. And you could also take an existing app and put an Angular front end on it, and that's more involved than I'm going to get into today. But it can be done. If somebody wants to ask me about it, I can try to answer, message me on Slack or something. So to get started with this way, you're going to need to make sure you have Node. You're going to make sure you have Visual Studio. And you want to have .NET Core 2.2. And to start, you click through the file system. You say, I want to create a new project. You want to make sure that it is a .NET Core web application. Name it whatever you want. And then you choose one of these awesome built-in templates. You choose Angular. It's going to make it Angular 6. If you want 7, you have to upgrade it yourself. They don't have it built in yet. And then you'll get some code that looks like this. And what this does is, this is just a .NET Core app, and it builds in an Angular app in a client app folder here. And there's a whole bunch of things that it does. Let's see if I can get it to run and not fail on me now. The first time you run it, it's going to install everything, and it'll take a little while. I ran it already so that we wouldn't have to wait. And we're still waiting a little bit. But we can look at the code while we wait. There's going to be a few different pages, but the most interesting one here for us is that there's going to be a fetch data example. And they made it really, really simple here. It's just going to call, up here, it's going to call this API weather forecasts. And hopefully we're done so I can show you. Of course it won't load. Let's try again. So we can't see it right now. It's still loading. I don't know if it'll load, and I'm sorry if it doesn't. But it'll call back to this weather forecast, which is inside this application. You go back out here and look at the controller, and they have a simple controller. And it's just randomizing fake weather data. So it calls this weather forecasts and generates some fake data and spits it back out, and then we show it on the front end. And that's high level all there is to it. Obviously, it gets more complicated depending on what you want to do in the back end and send out to the front end. And in the real world, you would be going further than this and using real data in a database or calling out to some other service. And of course, I can't show you the app because something went wrong, and I'm not going to try to fix it in front of you all right now. But yeah, it sounds really scary, but once you start doing it, it's actually pretty simple. It's a few more steps to set up, but not that much more work. If anyone wants to ask about it and get more detail, I'm available. It's just @Amy on the Slack channel. So that's all I have.